This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is a Fast Break Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me is Ricky Widmer.
What's up, what's up?
And Dave Oster.
Hey, guys.
How's it going, Dave? How's it going?
Are you Mark Weber? Are you filling in for Dub Them E's?
Dub them E's, baby.
I don't get the joke.
It's an original onside kick throwback.
It's way back to the onside kick when we first started.
I was probably still in grammar school when you guys were doing that.
It always went Ricky with Dave Oster. Hey, guys. Mark Weber, how's it going? Every single time.
Anyway, you can check those out on Blog Talk Radio.
Please don't. They're terrible.
Because we're on Blog Talk Radio now. If you're listening on SoundCloud, we're going to be making the full move over to Blog Talk Radio on October 1st. So go check us out on Blog Talk Radio, blogtalkradio.com/mostvaluablepodcast. And you can find our channel pages for every single podcast, or you can just find every podcast from there. But we're going to be talking about ranking the sophomores going into 2016-2017, and we're also going to be ranking all starting shooting guards in the NBA. We did point guards last week, so if you want to check that out, go to the Fast Break on Blog Talk Radio. You can find that, or even on our YouTube page. But let's jump into the sophomore talk. Chad Ford and Kevin Pelton put out an article on ESPN ranking the top 10 rookies in going into 2016-2017. Number one is Cat. Agree or disagree?
I mean, he won Rookie of the Year. I think we all kind of know that he's like the up-and-coming next big man. Like, already after year one, they're proclaiming, like, yeah, next year, assuming Anthony Davis sits in that like middle ground again and doesn't really progress, Cat might overtake him as like the best big in the NBA.
Well, and it really comes down to the only one that I would think about. I'm not saying would, but the only one that could overtake them in some people's minds is Kristaps, right? Mm-hmm. He's the only one that. It's either you have Cat, which is the right choice, and then you have Porzingis.
Well, I think most people, except maybe the kids from outside New York or wherever Kristaps, I believe Lithuania, is from. I think that's the only people that would actually put him over Cat. But
say, look, I love Porzingis. Coming into the draft, you guys knew it. During the draft, I called it, and I was like, New York, you motherfuckers, just pay attention. And
Chad Ford also said now that he was a fan of Kristaps
suspiciously,
Porzingis.
Chad Ford suddenly was a fan of Kristaps Porzingis.
This is the guy that also went back and changed all his mock drafts, right?
What?
To make him look better?
Who would edit those? Like, just to
come
make
on.
himself look
Everyone
better,
had Steph Curry in the top 5 of that NBA draft. Everybody.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think you agree.
Cat's got an all-around game. Like, when you got a player who is as big and athletic as he is, but he still has a great shot. He's quick to the boards. Mm-hmm. He's even good in transition. Like, from top to bottom, like, you know, on baseball, it's like a 5-tool player. Like, he is that equivalent in the NBA.
And he comes from the factory in Kentucky.
Yeah, he didn't look like a rookie last year, and that's the thing. And he looked like the best player on that team, and that's got former Rookie of the Year Andrew Wiggins, guys like Zach LaVine, who's athletic as hell. I mean, Kevin Garnett, who's not the same Kevin Garnett, but still, I mean, you know. He's got a veteran presence there. Garnett, I think you're really going to see a big leap from Cat, even from what you saw. And I think even if Anthony Davis does show that MVP type level, I think Cat's going to still be competing with him and Boogie for best big man. Number 2, we already talked about already, Porzingis. But Pelton disagree, and I kind of want to throw this out there. He's got Jokic from the Denver Nuggets at 2 ahead of Kristaps. Do you agree with that? Because looking at Kristaps, he's looking like the next Dirk. I mean, looking like the basic prototypical next stretch 4 here in the NBA.
Just your average 7-footer who is a great fall away. No big deal, but
can stretch it from 3.
Yeah, honestly, I understand that. Look, Jokic was I don't want to say dominant.
Surprising.
He was surprisingly good at what he did down low. He owned the boards. He had a really good field goal percentage. He was shooting over 50%. He played 80 games, which, look, let's be honest, that's a lot for a rookie. A lot of rookies don't see that much playing time. It's because it's a big change going from the EuroLeague to the NBA.
Thing that I think, and the only reason why some people may say, well, oh, look at Jokic, is look at where he was drafted. It's easy to look at 41st overall, look at how he played and go, wow, that's pretty good for a 41st pick.
31st.
When you look at where Kristaps was drafted, top of the first round, well, of course, there's going to be high standards with that you have to live up to, where a second-round pick, most people are like me, where it's like, fuck it, throw it away, especially if it's like the last 5 in the second round. Just throw it away. We don't need it.
I don't think you're saying fuck it, throw it away, because your boy Kay Felder was picked in the 50s.
Yeah, well, it depends. Well, top of that second round, because Draymond was also there too. You can find some
players.
people.
I mean, Isaiah Thomas, who you had in the top 10 of point guards, is
let's be honest.
60.
Let's be honest. The second round is, hey, let's see how they do in the summer league, and if they impress us, we'll keep them around.
Yeah, or it's draft and stash.
Yeah, or
it's one or the
draft and
other.
stash.
I mean, draft and stash has kind of changed now, where people are actually taking the draft and stash way earlier because, and maybe even Jokic's performance this year did change that. But I mean, even Jokic, I mean, he can even shoot himself. So, do you see Jokic actually taking over Porzingis, or right now is it so hard because you have such a high expectation
I think
Porzingis?
Porzingis' ceiling is still higher than him. Like, look, we've seen what Dirk can do and the longevity of his career because of his play style. So that lends you like confidence in Porzingis going forward. And I don't really have a direct great comparison for Jokic yet because he's good at a lot of things, but like I just don't feel like I'm ready to put him at number 2 in like, overall sophomore class. Sorry, he's just not there.
He's still young though. I mean, that's the thing. All these
He's
guys
21,
are still young.
yeah.
So and what you saw from him last year, very impressive. I would still say Porzingis was more impressive because Jokic was very, I mean, not really. He was just very consistent. But with Porzingis, you saw that flash of he can be a star player. Where with Jokic, he could probably be an all-star a couple of years. But I think Porzingis, if he can hit his full potential, he'll be a kind of a perennial all-star.
Most certainly.
So that's the thing. The one thing I want to talk about though is the two guys that are that I feel are ranked pretty low. You got D'Angelo Russell for Pelton, who's 7, and you got Emmanuel Mudiay for Pelton, who's ranked 10, and then you have D'Angelo Russell, who's ranked 8 for Chad Ford, and then 6 for Mudiay. Are those guys too low, and are they getting enough credit?
Well, I can see why they both have them where they respectively do, because for Mudiay, we discussed it last week. You can check out when we ranked the point guards coming into this season. Mudiay, like, it was kind of almost a flop last year. And, of course, me going in...
wasn't that bad.
He wasn't as
36
great.
and 31%.
Wasn't as great as we all were expecting. And with Russell, it was one of the things where I'm gonna use this year as the first barometer for him because the Tank Commander didn't like him, and the Tank Commander knew that there was one goal on his mind: get the first pick, and they didn't get it. But now when they got Luke Walton, I want to see what Russell can do with Luke Walton. I think he'll do better things, and then we'll get a better gauge on Russell after this year.
See, and maybe it is more because of where they gone or where they went again, because guys like Jokic went in 2014 in the second round. Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, who's in Pelton's top 5, only played didn't even play 50 games last year, or played 50 games. Was taken in the late first round. Josh Richardson as well. These Mudiay and Russell were in the top 10 each. Looking at these guys, though, I think Russell has that potential that we really haven't seen. And if we're talking about guys going into and not really looking at too much of what they did and seeing the potential they had, I mean, Russell showed his potential in that one game where he scored 30 points.
It was more than one game. He had multiple times where he just went off, and it gives you a lot of hope because once he gets rolling, you see that confidence in his step. You see him like very confident when he brings the ball to the court. He knows what he's doing. He kind of gets that drive to him where he's like, all right, we've got this. I got this rolling now. It's just when he doesn't have that, he looks lost out there from time to time. And I think part of that was because, it was a bad team that was still relying on Kobe to give them leadership. And at that point, it was kind of like, where is your place? You're not the leader of this team. You are partially responsible for the ball handling, the movement on the court, but at the same time, he didn't really have the backing of that locker room, which he lost. He didn't have the backing of his coach. So it's really hard to really, plant yourself in there and be like, this is my team when you got no respect around you. So does he have potential? Off the fucking charts, absolutely. But if this team doesn't turn around and accept him in, then I don't know what we're going to expect out of him next year.
And something I do kind of want to bring up about Russell, and it's not the greatest comparison, but I'm going to try to throw it out there. But looking at D'Angelo Russell's first year and looking at Chris Paul's first year, kind of a big jump there. But and Chris Paul is going to be more of the facilitator than D'Angelo Russell will. But they put up similar points per game. Chris Paul was a better shooter by a little bit. D'Angelo Russell was a better 3-point shooter, and D'Angelo Russell had similar turnover ratios. So I really think that it's just he didn't get that full support that you were talking about, and that's the reason why I would have him probably in my top 5 at least. I mean, I would probably put him right behind Porzingis and Cat, because looking at what he can do if he has that full push behind him, and he has guys like Brandon Ingram and Jordan Clarkson coming around him, and the help of veteran guys like Luol Deng, I think he's going to take that huge jump, and especially the Luke Walton effect that you had. Is there any guys that didn't make the list, or that are on this list that should be higher, or just think that are going to surprise us completely? Because there's guys like Devin Booker who kind of was up and down.
You brought up guys, okay, we see their potential with the team around them. Who you're going to compare him to? Devin Booker looks like he could be like the next coming of Klay Thompson. He, off the bat, his shooting fantastic. He kind of has a little bit of an issue right now because they have a very loaded backcourt in Phoenix. So his playing time, hopefully we see that increase because he's continued to improve. They're going to ship out somebody and regret it, but that's fine, Phoenix. Like, that's your game. That's your default move. Don't worry about it. Because Devin Booker, he's got potential to be one of the league's best scorers in probably 3 years. Like, he has that, he has the stroke, he has the arm movement. Like, when he takes his shots, it doesn't look kind of janky. There's some players who get it in and it's ugly. No, he's fantastic. So, honestly, I think he should be 3. Like, bar none. I know there's cases made for all these guys, but I think Devin Booker, as far as we're talking star potential in the future, like, he finished his rookie campaign, he showed us just a little bit glimpse of, this is what I can do. Ooh, I'm excited. And
his 3-point percentage was like above 40% at some time, and it just kind of fell down off that cliff because he just kept shooting more and more and more. Is there any guys on this list, Ricky, that you can really see taking a bigger jump? I mean, I know you love
it's Steve Russell. I think he's the guy, because it's all about. I really want to see what this Laker team can do with Luke Walton at the helm, with an actual coach at the helm, not just a guy who's. So I got to do what Joe Girardi's doing in New York and have a farewell tour for Kobe? Okay, I'll get the first pick for you. I'm fine.
I just thought you were. I thought you were going to bring up Justice Winslow, because that's your guy. You in our redraft, you had him super high.
I fell off on Winslow. I bought in on the Winslow hype after that national championship, and then it was just like, where was the guy I saw in college? That's what I need to see.
He was on the bench.
He's a good, not great. He'll have more time this year. Obviously, that Heat team will be needing guys to step up in a big way. So I think he'll be fine this year. I think his numbers will actually probably bump up a little bit more than we expect because of that. But
he's not going to be sitting behind Joe Johnson or Luol Deng anymore as well. So he will be getting more playing time.
But yeah, I mean, I see him as a guy who's probably going to go out and average like probably 14.5 and like 7 and 6. They're not bad numbers, but they're not going to make you step out and be like, holy shit, because look. Porzingis, rookie year, tossed up ridiculous numbers. Cat tossed up ridiculous numbers. So, yeah, they were in different circumstances, but he didn't shine as much as we hoped to see him early on. I think if he did, he would have got more time off the bat. They wouldn't have had to bring in Joe Johnson for that, extra shooting help, for that extra veteran leadership, because, Justice Winslow just wasn't living up to what we had hoped.
And the one last thing I want to, and this is because Dave mentioned Kristaps, and I just popped it into my mind. I could bring back when it comes to the Jokic-Kristaps thing, maybe in my mind, Jokic after this season maybe raises himself a little bit and maybe is that second, because the big thing between the two of them when we talked about is, Kristaps I think was like either 3 to 4 points more per game on average, but he also played 7 more minutes per game than Jokic did. It was like 28-27 on one side and then 20-21 on the other.
Yeah, and one guy that I wasn't surprised before we wrap this up, one guy I was surprised that wasn't on here at all or mentioned even in the article, and that you guys didn't bring up, was your boy Bobby Portis.
I was waiting for that. I honestly was like, who's going to mention the Bulls first?
I will mention the Bulls. I just the way he looked in Summer League.
Let's wait for this season. Let's wait for it.
The way he looked,
it's going to be good.
Yeah, the way he looked in Summer League coming in, he just looked built. He looked bulky, and I think that
especially after we trade the Taj Mahal and send him off somewhere.
Some contender will need him.
Open up that hole.
I don't think Bobby will be starting right away, but I think he'll definitely show a little bit and maybe be a part of a new bench mob for you guys.
He kind of filled out a little bit. I'm happy because, look, honestly, he was getting bullied around down low, and that's the reason why we still needed Taj around was, he needed a year. He put on some muscle in this offseason. We saw a little bit of the highlights in the Summer League. I'm excited, but he's not a top 10 player based off what we saw year one. I'm sorry. As much as I want to be, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I ripped on him when we drafted him, but unlike Tony Snell, he actually proved me wrong. So I like him now.
Let us know who you think will be a top sophomore in next year's class, who you think will actually be a surprise guy if they weren't mentioned on the list. Tell us down below.